what we mean by SOH CAH TOA. I'm sure you must have had it before, but again, if you have not had it before, this is an opportunity for you to get yourself educated with this particular topic known as trigonometry. Now, if triangle ABC has one of its angles as theta, for you to determine the theta, use sine, use cos. You can also use the tangent. You can use sine, cos, or tangent. And for you to do that, you must remember what I already told you when I was teaching you sine rule, cosine rule, that the sign that is opposite to the big letter B will be small b. This one will be small c, and this one will be small a. Again, if you are asked to determine, you are just given two sides. Okay, you are given one angle and one side. The ones we have treated before, the other triangles we treated before, is either they give you two sides, one angle, okay, or they give you all the three sides and they ask you to determine the other side. You can use cosine rule and sine rule. But in a situation where they give you only one side and one angle, again, that's when you apply what we call SOH CAH TOA. Let me repeat it. There are situations where you have two sides, one angle. There are situations where you have two angles, one side. There are situations where you have all the three sides, no angles. I mean, such situations you can use the sine and the cosine rule. But in a situation where you have only one angle and one side, that is when you now have to deal with SOH CAH TOA. What do we mean by SOH CAH TOA? Sine equals to opposite over hypotenuse. I already taught us Pythagoras theorem, and so all these things I'm writing will not be strange to you. Then we have cosine equals to adjacent over hypotenuse. Again, we have tangent equal to opposite over adjacent. So when you are faced with a situation where you have only one side and only one angle, depending on the side that you are looking for, you will apply this SOH CAH TOA accordingly. This is OH, OH, AH, adjacent and hypotenuse. And then the third one, opposite over adjacent. That is the way it works. Now let me show you in a diagram. If this angle has been given to us and hypotenuse has been provided for you, and you are looking for the opposite, what you will use is sine theta equals to C over B. If you have been given hypotenuse and you are looking for adjacent, then sine will not work. What will work is cosine. So we say cos theta, sine theta. Cos theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. Again, if either are provided, either the opposite or the adjacent, and you are looking for either of them, cosine will not work, sine will not work. What will work is tangent. So you have tan theta equals to opposite, which is C over adjacent, C over A. This is the way it works. This is what we call SOH CAH TOA. Now let's go into the application of some of these things. I would have loved to tell you how these trigonometry ratios were generated, but again, that is further maths. And for those of us who are studying further maths, you should expect the volume 2 or what we are doing right now. We're going to do the further maths also, so that you can teach yourself at home, you can listen, I can explain some of these topics to you, but for now we are dealing with the general mathematics. So what I'm going to do is to draw the table for you of 30, 45, and 60. You need to master them. You need to memorize them. When you memorize them, it will become handy for you anytime you are faced with questions of this format. Alright? Alright, now this is what we call trig ratios. Trig ratios. There is no shortcut. You have to learn them. You have to memorize them. Sine 30 is half. Sine 45 is 1 root 2. 1 over root 2, sorry. Sine 60 is root 3 over 2. Cos 30 is root 3 over 2. Cos 45 is 1 over root 2. Cos 60 is half. Tan 30 is 1 over root 3. Tan 45 is 1. Tan 60 is root 3. These ratios can be proven using SOH CAH TOA, but like I said, it's outside the scope of general mathematics. It's when you're dealing with further maths that you'll be taught how to do all of these things. Again, it's good for me to let us know what we call the quadrants. You need to understand the quadrant. Look at these 4 quadrants. The first quadrant is we have 0 to 90. Angle at a point is 360. So from any day here, if you move around from first quadrant to the last quadrant, you will get to 360. But in the first quadrant, 4 quadrant means 4. So if you divide 60, if you divide 360 into 4, you have 90, 90, 90, 90. So in the first quadrant, we have from 0 to 90. From 0 to 90. In this quadrant, all these trigs, sine, cosine, and tangent, the 3 of them are positive. Meaning, if you look for cos 30, if you look for sine 30 is positive, cos 30 is positive, tan 30 is positive. Positive, positive, positive. That is between 0 and 90. All angles, sine 79, sine 89, even sine 90, all of them are positive. Now, if you move from here and you move from, let's say, 91 until you get to 180, in this quadrant, only sine is positive. Let me tell you what I mean. We have sine, let's say, 115, cos 115, tan 115. Again, except you use a calculator, that is where you can get your answer. Otherwise, if you are going to use your 4-figure table, what you are going to do is you subtract what you have, this angle, this obtuse angle, you will subtract it from 180. Again, when you subtract it from 180, you will have something that looks like 65 as your answer. 65 degrees. So it is 65, is sine 65 you actually look at in your 4-figure table. But one thing you need to understand is this: in this quadrant, only sine, only this one is positive. All others are negative. So if you look at cos 65, so that it will not look like an angle in the first quadrant, it will be negative, because there is no cos 115 inside your 4-figure table. The way you are going to look at cos 115 is to subtract it from 180. And when you do that, in this quadrant of obtuse angles, cos and tan are both negative. Cos and tan are both negative. Alright? When you move from there, you move to the 3rd quadrant. 3rd quadrant is the angle of reflex angles. More than 180 but less than 360. Alright? Then you have that only tan. Let's say, for instance, you have sine 200, cos 200, and tan 200. Again, like I said, except you are using your calculator, you'll not be able to determine this on your 4-figure table. So what you do is you subtract it from 270. So you say 270 minus 200, and when you get 70, then you go and look at 70 in your sine, cos, and tan. And again, because you are in the 3rd quadrant, you are in the 3rd quadrant. In third quadrant, only tan is positive. Only tan. Cos and sine are both negative. And then again, you move to the last quadrant. In the last quadrant, only cosine is positive. So let's say, for instance, you have sine 310, cos 310, and then tan 310. If you look at this one in your four-figure table, the way to do it is to say 360 minus 310, and then you have that, you have 50, 50, 50. Now, when you look at that, you must put minus. And this one is negative, this one is negative, only cos is positive. For me to put it well, let me share this with us. I'll write it on the board, and then you can take advantage of it accordingly. You can take advantage of it accordingly. All right? Now, this is what I'm saying. In the first quadrants are angles between 0 and 90. And I've chosen 63 as an example. Sine 63 is positive, cos 63 is positive, tan 63 is positive. We move from there to the second quadrant. The second quadrant are angles between 90 and 180. Again, 135. Like I said, if you are using a four-figure table, you will not see the angles like 135 there. The angles is between 0 and 90. But you must understand that if you subtract the angle that you are given from 180, you will be making a mistake if you think that you can just subtract it and then write the answer like that without minding the fact that it is more than 90 degrees. Again, for this second quadrant, only sine is positive. So when you subtract it and you want to get your answer, you will put negative to that answer of cos and tan. And the way to handle it is to subtract the angle that is more than 90, first of all, from 180, and then you will get 45. So you go and look at sine 45 in your four-figure table. For the sine, you will not have a problem. Sine is positive. But for cos, whatever it is you get, you must put minus to it. For cos and for tan. That is second quadrant. Move to the third quadrant. Third quadrant are angles that are over 180 but are less than 270. Between 180 and 270. Again, we have chosen 195. And in the third quadrant, only tan is positive. The way to go about it is to subtract the angle that you have been given, which could be 230, which could be 220. You subtract it from 270. And in this case, we got 75. When you got 75, and you go and use your four-figure table to do it, or you use your calculator. If you use your calculator, you don't have any problem. It will put the minus there, put the positive there accordingly by itself, because it's a program. All right? But for you that are doing it manually, you will use the four-figure table to answer the question. But because of your knowledge of the first, second, and the third and the fourth quadrant, you will know we have to apply the plus and the negative accordingly. So in the third quadrant, for angles that are over 180 but are less than 2, you will put minus on the sine and the cos, and then for tan it will be positive. Again, we'll move on to the fourth quadrant. The fourth quadrant are angles between 270 and 360, and we have chosen 300. Again, for you to handle it, you take your 300 away from 360. For fourth quadrant, you subtract the angle that you are given from 360. For second quadrant, you subtract it from 270. For second quadrant, you subtract it from 180. In the first quadrant, you use it directly. Alright? 300 from 360 will give you 60. For this